This type of Yerushalmi Eruvin in the article Oz Varadishon Daf Ein Aleph Amud Aleph, the last Amud actually of the Masechta, and we're the third line down. Tamatin and Hichnis Rosho v'Nasan Al Tnuch Ozo. So this in the Vilna is on Daf Samech Hey Amud Aleph, 3, 6, 9, 12 lines to the bottom. Okay, Talmud Tanian. We learned over there in the wiped it off here. Where is it? Negoim, Pegudam Mishnah Test. Okay, so we learned over there. So this is brought down in the Korban Ha'eda. And the Hichnis Rosho. As this Yisrael, Mechusar Kippur cannot go in there. And the Mitzorah was going to be Torah from his Mitzoras. If he that the blood goes out of the Azara, it's Tameh, it's puzzle. So he has to have the blood applied to his ear and to his finger and to his toe. Right? So how's it going to work? So so it's saying the Shah Nikonos should ben Ezes Noshim Ezes Yisrael. Umachlis Rosha Tocha Azara, and he should put his head into Azara. Ach Nosi Matanos Atnucha, until they put the Matanos on his ear. Umachlis Yodev Raglo, and then he puts in his hand and his foot. Ach Yemos, until it's put on his finger, his thumb and his toe, big toe. So Tnuch is actually this middle part of the ear over here. So the notes are there. Yichinis Rosho, he put in his head. The Nasan al Tanuch Ozno, and put the blood on the that cartilage in the ear. The Yodo, he put in his hand. Nasa Yodo put on his thumb, right? The Raglo and his foot, and he put on the big toe. Now, there's a contradiction here in Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda. Now, what is Rabbi Yehuda say there? It's not brought down here, at least in the Vilna. Maybe it's brought down in the. Yes, it is in the. No, it's not here in the article either. The Rabbi Yehuda says he would put in all three at once, not in sequence, ear, hand, and foot, but rather all three and once. So it seems to be that the same similar machlokes that we had before. What's superior, Hashoyas to Tuma or the what was the language we had before? Tuma, right? So therefore it seems to be a contradiction, because Rabbi Yehuda seems to say it's better to get it all over with quickly, even though you're being Marba B'Tumah. And Rabbanan say it's better to delay and be Mamai B'Tumah. Right? Each one, Rabbanan hold each one separately, and Rabbi Yehuda holds all three together. So we have to go further here and see the contradiction. There, he says, the case of Mitzorah, it's also to be Ma'arim. Ma'arim, he explains in the Korban Ha'eda, Perush Lahashos HaTumah V'Mikdash, to delay the Tumah Beis HaMikdash. Hilkach Omer Shemachni Shlosh V'Yachad, that's what he says, you have to put all three in at once, not to tarry, not to delay. V'ka, Omer Mutter, here it says Mutter, as Korban Ha'eda says, Hilkach Omer Mutter Shemachni Atzvashal Eitz. You do delay. You go to look for a wooden tweezer, Zumashin Satuma. Zumashin Tuma. Now, it's important for us to note that many of the Mefarshim, including Reb Chaim, evidently the Mechel Mayim, Pnei Reb Chaim Kanevsky, and some in Pnei Moshe. But in any event, they change the girsa. They say Mechav Shitas Rabbana. They say it's contradiction Rabbana, right? There. Omrin, they say, Tamar Amin, they say, also Arim, meaning they now have to be Marba B'Tumah. And therefore you don't put all three at once. But here, in our Mishnah, the Kol Mar Mutter says, Yochanan Baruch says you could be Marba B'Tumah Mikdash, and therefore you can make the belt tummy. So, okay, it's the truth is it's the flip side, same question. Whichever way in the question, it seems contradiction both Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan. Soon Rabbi Yochanan broken our Mishnah in Rabbanan, they are the same. Okay, so it's a contradiction. Either way, you learn the Girsa. And the Gemara fact later is going to reverse the question. So you can either reverse the Girsa later on, reverse the Girsa here. Bottom line is everybody's changing the Girsa here in this Gemara some way or another. So we're going to continue on with Carbon Ada's approach. And here he changed the Girsa dramatically in the next few lines, and we're going to follow his Girsa here. Taman, Zloistave Klasa Zimnin. I mean, this starts from the Carbon Ada. They shouldn't be, in order to come, they shouldn't be become tummy 3 times. Right? In other words, if they ever said, Rabbi Yehuda said, all 3 at once. Bramhacha, but here, Tumi Dumi Fnimi. The tumah is already there inside. Right? So there's only one tumah, and it's there. Okay, and then he changed, he brings down the next question. Mechal Pashitas Rabbanan, Shitas Rabbanan. Okay, the question about it. Tamei Mutar Laharim. There they say Mutar Laharim, meaning, according to Rabbanan over there, you do 1 at a time, right? In order to, even though you're, I think Laharim here means to pile on Tumah. You know, I should have said this before. Laharim means to pile on like an Arima. You're piling on the Tumah, right? So Rabbi Yehuda says, Osalarim, you can't pile on Tumah, right? That we said before. It's you do all 3 at once. In order not to pile on more Tumah after Tumah and Tumah. And here Rabbanan say, Musalarim, you can pile on Tumah after Tumah after Tumah. So so Taman, so there, Shem Yachnis Rosh of Aruba. There, they don't want you to do all 3 at once, because if you do all 3 at once, you might come to do the head and majority of your torso, which is also considered to be Bia into the Hazara. In other words, what's the definition of coming to Hazara, which is Hazar? Rosh Varubo. So they say do ear separate, finger separate, thumb separate, toe separate, in order not to come to Rosh Varubo. But here, Mishum Machnis came to me by Mikdash. But here, if the issue is being came to me by Mikdash, and then Efshar Lo, let's say it's below shows below Tuma. So that's better because being came to me to Mikdash is a minor issue. There's no of course, like somebody who enters Rosh Uruva Tazov in their tummy, and therefore better that to make that Kli tummy and to get out of the base of Mikdash as quickly as possible. I read the Karmeya's explanation now. It says the next year Mazel is Hotzi mi Mokom. That's really going further, but he starts an interpretation of what we just read. He put all 3 in once. It shouldn't do 3 times. Should do it all one time, not to add more tumah. But here tumah is inside. It's better to delay anyway because it's already there. And get and not to be matami the belt, get the tzvas. Amazing. Then that's kasha rabbanan. Dasam rabbanan shmachnis kol achas. Each one independently. Shmamina mutar lashos. Right, you can delay. You take it out immediately with the belt. Shlosh tuma. There it says, we're afraid. We don't want to put all 3 at once. Because you might put in the majority of your torso. And it's like you're coming into your totality. But here Tuma's inside. So you should have to take it out as quickly as possible. Even though you're bringing going, which is going to come to me. Then now allowed to be going to make the Mikdash, at least leave them there once they're becoming Tamei. Come ain't to Tameim Avatuma, then not an Avatuma. Not since Rishon. Ben my feel Isser Malchus, and therefore it's not even Isser Malchus involved. So it's Bar Kapara sheet, is that any Vlada Tuma is only the Rabbanon. So Yochanan says Vlada Tuma is the Raisa, but Kapara is only the Rabbanon. You have some place Yerushalmi. It could be Yerushalmi. So goes to the sheet also that here the Hemyon also is only Vlada Tuma. So therefore, this is Rabbanon altogether. Okay, so now the Gemara goes on. Rabbi Yehuda said, Rabbi Yehuda said to Yochanan ben Broka, Mutab lo lavra mitzvah lo saseh shlo bas yodo. Better to be over shave al taisa. In other words, not to be a time it's going to be a dime. Get the tzvashalates. Not to be a time it's going to be a dime. Mitzvah lo saseh shlo bas fun than to be over kumbaseh by making the avnate tummy. That's his shita. Okay, so that's even though it's an Isser cow, better the shave al tasa. Again, it's tzvas and not the kumbaseh of making the hemyan tummy. Oh, you're taking the tummy, you're taking the sherets out. Oti mokushev lokor. Say it was basically Fran Azor Chayav Koris. V'nav mokushev lokor. Then it fell in the place of not Chayav Koris in the Etzos Noshim. Okay, so or the harba. So can you pick it up and continue to move it? So the Gemara says, yeah, quite near, let's say. Well, since you already started that melacha, even though it fell in the middle, it's not a hefsek in the removal. You continue the removal. But matzos achar betzida. But now you find another one next to it. Okay, so the found another dead sheretz, right? So motzi shneim. Do you take both out? Okay, you take this one out as well. Since you're processing out, and motzi shneim, let's say, so it's only the one with which you started. You're allowed to continue. Remember, this goes back to our Mishnah. The Mishnah said we're in matir to take our shirts, even though it's only an instant muktzah. Not every shus is mother mutter mukdash. We said there's a machlekes in the Mishnah. Meich motzir so mina ulam ben ulam mizbeach to Rishim ben Anasa. We came from Malcolm Shreves on Kodesh Kodesh Chatos Mishum motzir so. But in Ava it says Shar Makos Kavla Psach right. So the question is now, this second sheretz is a place where you should just put a keli over it. But anyway, you're taking the sheretz out, and once you're allowed to take it out, you take it out. It's not clear how far you take it out. The passage is take it out from the entire Harabais. It's Mishnah Melech. The article brings down. It's not sure. It's possible to take it out of the entire Harabais. And the Shor Carbon brings it down over here and discusses it. But in any event, however much you take it out, so this thing which normally would be kafla psachter in the outside the azora, could you now take it out because you're moving out that sheretz this first sheretz anyway or not? And the Gemara doesn't resolve the question. The more brings down to Sefta now, which is not directly, except according to Pnei Moshe, which somehow relates to Bibi Sugi, but the Pachas is a separate issue, which Huya Omer, Rabbi Shua said in this Tosefta, Tzfas et Sasava. The only way you can make it's not really, I try and say Tzfas is tweezers, it's really a pliers, really. So in order to make it, pliers need a pliers. Tzvas akad mesam, mavas. So who made the first pliers? Right? You need a pliers to make a pliers. How did you make the first pliers? So Biris Havas was created by Shesabay Brachis. It's brought down. That's one of the things that Pnei says, which was made Nivra Ben Hashmoshes. By the way, the tzvas of eights and Beis Medrash could have been in tweezers. We're talking now about tzvas of real pliers of metal. And in order to make a metal, pliers need to make a metal. You have to have pliers to hold it on the anvil as you're beating it out. So the first one, the first one had to be made Ben Hashmoshes of Erev Shabbos. Where's that brought down? Mishnah Avos, Parakeh Halacha Vav, Mishnah Vav. Okay, so Masechus Eruvin does not leave us even in the final lines. The final line is very cryptic, and there are many pshatim we just said in the final line. I like actually the pshat which Art Scroll brings down from the I think it's Pnei Meir. Amar Echino Kumi Rabbi Mona Umad Amar La. Okay, what do you say is the connection between the beginning of the Brisa, which is also Mishnah Maseches Chagila, Hilchos Shabbos are mikra muad v'halachos mubas. Hilchos Shabbos are a small, with their very little psukim, and there's many halachos. I have a theory that the Torah's marbin halachos, which are not nogeh b'zman hazeh, and Memayin halachas which are nogeh b'zman hazeh, because it knows that the halachas which are not nogeh b'zman hazeh, like korbanos, they're not going to learn as much. The Torah Shema Pes, so every but learn Torah Shema Ksav, whereas halachas which are nogeh or not nogeh to the masses, but the halachas which are nogeh chol hazmanim all times and to all people. Torah is Memayin because the Torah Shema Pes is always going to be learned like Shabbos. So therefore, but what's the connection between that statement, Hilchos Shabbos and Mikra Muad V'Halachos Mubas, and the statement of Tzfas B'Tzfas Asuya? What's the Tzfas B'Tzfas Ovad? What's the connection? So Rabbi Mona answered him, just like Mitzavta Achas, from one pliers, you can make many other pliers. You derive many other pliers. The call here, mishvisa achas, from one statement or a few statements of the Torah made, lamdu kama shvisos. You learn many halachas, right? So there's mikra muat and halachas muvas is just like from one tzvas you can make many tzvasos. The according to Bnei Moshe is going back on the taking out the sheretz on Shabbos. This last part of the Gemara. It's this like from one tzvas can make many tzvasos, so therefore you can learn many halachos from the many different shvusim, which have many different ramifications, from which you just derive from them. According to Reb Chaim, it's going on nima shenifsaka. Just like, for many tzvas, you can make many, for many, once there's many tzvas, so from one knot, you can come to many knots in any event. But I think that the pshat of that the article brings down is nice. And he says it seems to be that is perhaps the seems to be the pshat of the Korban. The Korban is not beginning down the brayla, they're beginning the brayso. So it's just Komar Echosis Dovers that they didn't Shavas Nisan. So it sounds like it's not going for beginning to the Sefta, it's beginning on the Mishnah itself. How do we come from discussion of Tzvasos, how does that link up to Lachos Shvisos? So he says, just like from one tzvasa you make many tzvasos, from one shvisa you can make many shvisos, and that's why we hold all these the connection between last Mishnah, which enumerated many shvusim, last few Mishnahs, and then many shvusim to a tzvas where you can make many tzvasim, many pliers with, as long as you have one plier to begin with. So from one principle you can derive many derivations. Now that we finished Maseches Eruvin, so I can tell you what the Yerushalmi Kibshuta says beginning of Maseches Eruvin, you can understand it and appreciate it. He says, Maseches Zu hi akosha b'yoytze b'tam Yerushalmi. This is the hardest Masechta in the Yerushalmi. He didn't want to say this beginning of Masechta. Only the end of Masechta. So I said the Yerushalmi. Gam mitzad tochno, but also it's our kind of its content. Gam mitzad shibushim rabbi shenoflu ba, and the made distortions which fell into it. Okay, these he says furthermore that in this Masechta you can tell many differences between the Yerushalmi and Bavli in several basic ways. And he says only based on the extraordinarily brilliant interpretations of Korban Eda, Pnei Moshe, Nir, Noam, Yerushalmi, can we really understand this Masechta properly? And he says that it's unfortunate that that we don't have the Rotner who made it. His magnum opus was to bring down all the Rishonim on the in Havas Yerushalayim on different Masechtas. And it's we don't have that sefer on. We have all the Amsel Zorei Memoy, but not on this one. And also the Ridbaz. I don't know if you missed the Ridbaz, but there was no Ridbaz in this Masechta. Okay, so in any event, Baruch Hashem, although Eruvin was hard, it was exciting, and there was a lot of good stuff, and we all had, I think, a good time learning Eruvin. And now past the hump. Did the hardest Masechta Yerushalmi. Rest of it is smooth sailing. Hajj Lach B'Rei Motzi. Feeling slick on Maseches Eruvin. Mazel Tov on the Siyum.